welcome to the weekly coaches show right here, the Johnny Boykin Coaches Show. Every Monday night right here from Inside Pizza Inn. I'm your host, Jonathan Griffin. Joining me tonight, two special guests. We have defensive coordinator Travis Elliot, linebacker coach Brandon Pope. Gentlemen, first and foremost, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So, just want to mention that tonight's show, again, is brought to you by Pizza Inn and Robo Agri-Finance. So, I already mentioned that we have two special guests. I don't know if you consider yourself special coaches, but, there's still special guests on the front. Maybe she's special. By the way, I'll get you to introduce her in just a second. So, Dark Horses get their first win this past Friday night against West Bladen. Talk a little bit about that win. Coach Elliot, we'll start with you.
Well, it's good to get the monkey off the back, for sure. I felt like our guys all week were a little bit more focused, were a little bit more dialed in. I know after Wednesday's practice, we had discussion. That was probably our best defensive practice as a whole we have had all season. Just everything was smooth. And then, of course, going into Friday night, we didn't have a JV game. So we had all our JV guys dressed, being at home. And it had a little different feel about it. Maybe that's just a numbers thing. I don't know. But they came out and we played hard other than blowing one coverage. We really not a coverage, but an assignment. We played pretty good on the defense side of the ball, it felt like. And our guys rallied. We got a lot of JV guys in, especially in the fourth quarter, which was good. Since those guys hadn't gotten to hit anybody else all week except for themselves.
Yeah.
And it was a good atmosphere. It was nice. The guys really – it was good to see them smile because they've had so much adversity pre to us even getting here.
Yes.
And, of course, I'm going a lot on hearsay there, but it just seems like they've had the deck stacked against them. And to see them every week get a little bit better and a little bit better and then see that finally come to fruition and pay off was just excellent for them.
Now, Coach Pope, I want to talk with you a little bit. I've had a chance to talk with Coach Elliot here a little bit to get some of his background. But tell the people a little bit about your coaching background, where you came from, how long you've been doing this, why you wanted to get into coaching, and what this experience has been like for you so far.
Right. I'm originally a graduate of Lakewood High School.
He's a leopard, folks.
Right down the road.
Now he's converted.
Y'all don't hold that against.
He's converted.
We're still trying to fix a few quirks. So.
Right. So I played under Barrett Sloan, who's now at Midway as the head coach. I played under him during his tenure at Lakewood. After I got done playing and graduated high school, fast forward about a year and a half, I hopped on board on the coaching staff with him. I served as the linebacker coach first year in, and I worked heavily with the JVs as the JV defensive coordinator that year. I spent 2 years on that staff. Last year I was on that staff that we made it all the way to the third round, won a conference championship, something that hadn't been done there in 20 years.
Probably the James Lewis era of
something that hadn't been done in a long, long time. So, other opportunities come up for other people, and other opportunities came up for myself. And after thinking and talking with some people, I met with Coach Boykin, met with some other people in the Clinton area.
Yeah.
And I loved the atmosphere. I loved everything. Growing up in this area, you hear a lot about Dark Horse football. So whenever I was gifted the opportunity to come aboard, I hopped all over it. So far, I've enjoyed every bit of it. It hasn't been the prettiest, but, you got to go through, trials and tribulations, and that's what makes the wins, more important, whenever they don't come as easy, whenever you actually got to progress and see kids change not only on the field, but in life, see them better as people as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, for the first time I've got a chance to really talk to you, of course, I've seen you out at the field a bunch of times, and at the games we usually – all of you guys are so busy doing stuff. If I can sneak in a word or two, that's good. But most of the time I try to let you do your thing on Fridays. But for me, the first time to you, welcome to Clinton. I'm glad to have you. And piggybacking off of that a little bit, Coach Elliot, just remind the people, if they're listening or watching for the first time that don't know your background, if you could maybe go over yours as well. It's a Western coach right here, folks. This is
for sure. And terminology-wise, I'm still learning this East Coast terminology. what y'all call buck, we call something else, and everything else. So it's interesting. But
talking about like buck sweet?
Yeah.
Oh God, you've been hanging around Sobel.
I grew up under stampedes and stuff, and anyhow. But I started in 2001 after I came out of Lenoir-Rhyne College or Lenoir-Rhyne University in App, and then Mark Weicker gave me my first coaching job there. I've done D-line, linebackers, offensive line ever since then. I've had the pleasure of working under some good guys. Coach Miller from back home when they won the state in 12 and 3A with 2A at South Iredale at that time. And then I recently have been with Rydell Cowan at Statesville High School. We all grew up together. So, and of course, they're doing great things at Statesville this year, and they have been. So it was just kind of God's intervention is what got me in Clinton, because I never thought I'd ever leave the farm. And but it has been a joy. The people here have been open-armed, especially with my daughter Kylie. It's just me and her, so she has had more play dates and people just being so kind. And then, of course, if you watch some of the JV games, a week ago, the last JV game we had, she's on the sideline with headsets running up down the sideline. And
that's funny.
She makes the young men mind probably as good, if not better, than the rest of us. And, of course, keeps us minding, too. Because,
heard that.
She is definitely on the foul language control. We don't have any of that at practice normally anyway, but if somebody slips up, she is sure enough there quick to let them know that's not acceptable and making them do 25 push-ups.
Oh, boy.
And if she has to show them how to do push-ups, she can do that too, can't she?
Yeah, I wonder who,
Push-ups too.
Yes,
I wonder who taught her how to do those. So I got. We'll keep it here with you, Coach Elliot.
Yeah.
As a defensive coordinator,
yes,
you've been doing this a long time. Like you said, you've done multiple different positions and defensive coordinator for the whole as a whole. What would you say is the hardest offense to prepare for? Is it an offense like Princeton and Wallace that has a lot of misdirection, a lot of tough run schemes, or is it a team a lot like maybe a Hopton or a Kinston? If I'm using local teams that like to throw it around the yard a lot.
To me, it doesn't matter. To me, it's more about where our Jimmies are versus their Joes.
Okay, fair enough.
Princeton, talk about them, they're going to unbalance you and just power you. Well, that makes you have personnel-wise enough guys that can get into trenches and don't mind fighting. And that's totally different than, say, from a spread team where now you need to have at least 4 guys out there that can – it's a different kind of physical and it's a different kind of running. And Coach Boykin, he gets on packages a lot, and I'm still learning that because I'm more of a personnel guy and just saying, hey, this guy's got to do this or do that. And but we're learning each other. But for me, as far as this year, I would say
you guys have obviously faced a lot of wing T teams.
Yeah, and the wing T doesn't really bother me. I would love to go back and play a couple of those games now that we played early, just because of now we're not quite as green around the gills as we were then.
Yeah.
But Midway did some things where they can line up in the wing T, they can go spread on you, they can move you around and try to get you uncomfortable. I think we'll see that a lot against St. Paul's too, because we've already got some film on them, and being able to prepare for how they they'll go from trips to spread to double tight. And, it's just they make you be able to line properly all the time.
So would you say facing a balanced offense?
Balanced by far is the toughest.
Yeah.
And that's because you have to be balanced on defense. You can't just keep it simple.
Okay.
You got to be able to roll guys. You got to be able to have them up on the line one play, and the next thing you know, they got to be able to cover the flat or the hook curl.
Coach Pope, as the linebacker coach, how would you define your role and what your specific things are with your kids when you take your linebackers, off one-to-one, what you're coaching, what you're teaching, what you're trying to get them to understand and do?
I take my individual time and I try to work over just base fundamentals, footwork, proper stance. I'm a big believer in how you start is how you finish. If you start off in bad stance, bad fundamentals, you're not going to finish the play. I really just try to get my guys to play hard.
Yeah.
That's something that I really hang my hat on is, just building a connection with my players.
Yeah.
Letting them know I care about them, I love them. I believe that players, whenever they feel that, it makes them want to play hard for the coach.
Yeah.
So, I do drills and, I preach to them fundamental type things, but the main thing is just building a connection with him through the drills. Obviously, coming to Clinton, one of the biggest things that attracted me was Jaden Williams. Being local to the area, knowing all the buzz about him, and being able to come to Clinton and work with somebody who's going to make me look better than I really am.
Yeah.
And as I got here, I noticed that there was some other talent at the linebacker spot as well. We got Julius Robinson, who played a really great game this past Friday.
Yeah, he did.
Nate Barden, who we actually missed for the late part of the summer, but God willing, we were able to get him back on the team, and he's been a pleasant surprise as far as just how he plays lights out, balls to the wall every play. But I think we really got some stuff to work with at linebacker.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. That's one of the things I wanted to know that. And so I'm gonna take it away from the football for just a minute and lighten the mood a little bit. So I'll start with you, Coach Elliot. Favorite food?
Man. Forever, anything my grandma cooked. But you go to them family reunions and you know which one's grandma's dishes, and them's the ones you circle around.
That's
and
when
get
they taste
first.
the best. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, just to give me meat and a tater, steak and a potato, I'm good to go, man.
What about you, Coach Buck?
I'm big on the steak and potatoes. In my opinion, you can never go wrong with a good burger.
A good burger.
A good burger
I like
always
that.
does it, man.
Yeah, I always like that. Okay, we'll keep it lighthearted later on, and we'll bring up some other stuff.
Kylie said chicken wings.
Chicken wings?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
What'd you
okay.
say? What's your favorite food?
now she's being shy.
Now you won't be shy.
So, Coach Elliot, I got a question for you.
Yes,
so,
sir.
what are your thoughts on and how much? And maybe this will depend on a situational type response, but what are your thoughts on teams that in your philosophy in terms of how much or how little you blitz? Linebackers, corners, safeties, all that jazz.
Personally, the best defenses that I've had the pleasure of being part of, we didn't blitz a whole lot. We were able to line up and
Win with 4?
Well, not necessarily win with 4.
5.
We would always bring someone,
Uh-huh.
but it was off of what they were trying to do. So if they motioned here, they aligned in a certain formation or things, we automatically already had it in place.
Gotcha.
So, and the reason for that is I come from an area where it's a lot of up tempo.
Yes.
We don't have time to signal in calls because they're getting up to the ball and they're getting ready to snap it again.
Yeah.
So we're not able to sit there and have the time. You get a lot more huddling out here.
Yeah.
And so that's been an adjustment for me.
Yeah.
I am so used to they do this, we do this. You just know it. And that comes down huge. But say like last week against West Bladen, now granted they didn't do a lot of different things, but Juju did an excellent job of directing everybody and where they needed to be.
Yeah.
And I was able to just widen or just kind of align people a little bit from the sideline, but we didn't blitz a whole lot. We did some things up front with the guys, but they kind of knew what we were wanting to do. And if we got a heavy look, he automatically knew he was going to walk up and be over that center, and we were going to widen the shade over and play a different front without having to really have a whole lot of calls to it. So to answer your question, from my background, is the calls are about already built in there for the most part.
Yeah. Not a lot of changing of the plays in between because you just didn't have much time.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So, Coach Pope, you mentioned Jaden Williams at the earlier segment, and you mentioned some other linebackers as well. What do you think some of the strengths are for your linebackers? Obviously, they do probably different things well, but each of the ones that have played and contributed this year, if you could talk maybe on an individual level, what they do well,
Yeah. Okay, so, I'll start off with Jaden Williams.
Yeah.
Obviously, you look at him, he looks the part, and he plays the part as well. Big, physical, can run, has a frame to add muscle. He's a hard-nosed player, can play in space. I think one of the biggest things about him is just his presence. When he's around, the team just moves a little bit differently. When he's out there, they move with a little bit more confidence, I feel like, which obviously, he's the only returning starter from the defense last year.
Yeah.
So whenever you got that kind of player back, everybody's going to feel a little bit better whenever they look out there and, he's by my side. But his presence and then just his raw athleticism, he's nothing but tools to work with.
Yeah.
I talked about Juju Robinson. He's one of the smartest players I've ever been around in my short coaching career. Knows the defense, knows what the offense is trying to do. Very smart. Football IQ is through the roof. He's out there. He knows where to get everybody lined up. So whenever he's out there, it's hard for us to make a mistake that's going to hurt ourselves because he's going to make sure everybody's in proper alignment. And he's going to give us everything he has every play. Nate Barden, who I spoke on earlier, he just plays fast, man. If you watch him, he's going right now. He's not thinking about nothing. He just likes to go out there and play ball. He's an old school see ball, hit ball type of player.
His nickname's Hair on Fire.
Yeah.
Because that's what he plays like.
Yeah, hair on fire.
You got to like that a little bit, though, right?
Yeah. He might be way out of position for a second. Next thing you know, he's bounced over, and he is on another position, right back where he's supposed to be. And it's like, how did he even do that?
How did he even get there?
Yeah. I mean, in our first couple of games, I'm still trying to figure out, the guys I'm working with. And, he might make a bad read or whatever that I think most linebackers would take themselves out of the play on, and then he still makes the tackle 15 yards downfield because his motor is just going all the time.
And then you got to throw in Ryan McNeil in there because he'll play.
Yeah.
He plays some linebacker / secondary back and forth some for us, and Ace, who plays some linebacker and defensive end for us. Both those guys they play with a high motor. And Ryan's a very physical presence, and Ace is just a very selfless young man. If you asked him to play safety one play and play center the next play when we went on offense, he'd say yes, sir.
And just to be clear, you're talking about a seer, right?
Yes.
Seer, okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. I just wanted the people to know.
He is. He's a very selfless player.
He was. He was one of our Ted's players of the game a couple of weeks back, and he was running the football hard too when he's been asked to do that. So definitely a name that been involved with. Now we'll break it down a little bit. I'm gonna let you go first now. Favorite sports movie?
Friday Night Lights. Got to be Friday Night Lights.
Like spent a lot of time under those Friday Night Lights. Spent a lot of time.
I mean, it's a classic. It's probably the answer a lot of people's going to give you, but I just think you can never go wrong with it. Remember the Titans, also a good one.
I get that one a lot. What about you, Coach?
Yeah, Remember Titans is definitely a huge one just because my grandpa, when he was in education, he integrated 2 high schools.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
Getting to meet a lot of the guys growing up that were part of that, and, how much that just is a huge part of our history, and I'm a history guy. I love history, but I'll go facing the Giants. As far as just
it's a good
deck stacked against you.
Wow.
I mean, who doesn't like an underdog?
Yeah.
We can be funny and go with the replacements from Keanu Reeves and all them plays.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah.
We can be a little bit un-PG here, apologize, and go with the program. Because that's, who doesn't remember Alvin Mack saying, let the paramedics sort them out.
Yeah.
And in fact, Alabama, the linebacker got a little bit of heat because of what he had under his eyes when he played the other week against Georgia. And I won't repeat what it said on there, but that's where that came from. And, your mindset in football is it's a violent sport.
Yeah.
And, you have to play it violently. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
So I kind of want to get both of your perspectives on this, and we can start with you, Coach Elliot. But who has stood out to you the most this season, let's say from a defensive standpoint, and then who has grown the most this season from start to now? And it may be the same person, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, I gotta, if it's okay, I gotta double head that one.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Because y'all have had Devon on here, and Freight, Mr. Gardner, is a great young man.
Yeah.
And he has been a very vocal leader for us, and a guy who just just goes hard. Kelly Neer has probably been the one that I have seen really just come into his own shell as far as from a defensive standpoint. Kelly is becoming a physical presence, and Kelly, he can play in, he can play inside, he turns around and plays offensive tackle, and you don't hear nothing but let's go. And that motor don't ever stop.
Yeah.
So I would say Kelly has definitely been, as far as somebody that we've seen improve every week up front, has definitely been that guy.
Okay.
You know, as a whole, Hayden Hill, who wouldn't say a word when I first met him, to now we go out and eat or do things, you can't get him to be quiet. I'm like, what have you done?
That means he likes you.
He's but no, all our guys. I mean, Cullen Lewis is our other end. DJ Baggett, all those guys are great guys. And then, of course, Hicks and Hayden come in and play some defensive line for us. You know, we have a good group of kids, young men. I just can't wait to see what they look like once they're moving a lot of weight around.
Yeah.
And how special they're going to be.
What about you, Coach Bo? Same question.
Actually, Coach Elliot kind of stole one of mine. I was gonna actually throw in Kelly Neer. Whenever I first got to Clinton, he kind of stood out just by the look that he had, but seeing how he's progressed on the field playing at D-line, which, I mean, I guess that part of that can be attributed to his coach.
Yeah.
But he's really came into his own. Speaking from my guys, Nate Barden, who, like I mentioned earlier, was not with us for part of the summer.
So you kind of didn't know what you had.
Kind of didn't know what I had. It's kind of just, you know, putting somebody out there hoping for the best. But after that first week, you know, I look back on the film and I'm like, you know, this kid can play, and he can play really, really good. So just seeing him, you know, continue to take steps week by week, and you know, I kind of want to stick with my guys. Jaden Williams, you know, who is the man who everybody knows. But, you know, going from what he had, the D-line he had in front of him last year, you know, which was full of senior heavy, to now some more of inexperienced guys that are trying to grow into their own as well, and seeing him, you know, have to grow with them, you know, watching the first couple of weeks and watching now, it's like everything's molding and meshing much well together. Things are starting to click. People are really starting to take their roles, you know. So those would be my couple.
Gotcha. Well, folks, we want to remind you again that tonight's show, the Coach's Show, Coach Johnny Boykin Show, is brought to you by Pizza Inn and Robbo Agri-Finance. Got, you know, a couple minutes left on the Coach's Show here, and just kind of wanted to throw things a little bit of a curveball here, Coach.
Yes,
so if you could, and I'm going to ask you this same thing, so you get a chance. Well, I tell you what, we always go with you first. You don't get a chance to think. I'm going to ask you first this. If you could coach another sport, what would it be? Well, other than football, what would be your sport and why?
They got midget wrestling.
Coach, I don't know if that's PC.
My bad.
No, just
No, what's funny about it is I was actually going to say wrestling.
Okay.
That's actually what I was going to say.
I give Coach Pope a hard time because he'll say he's 5'6", but we got to get the measuring tape out.
We're 5'5", but we can always give ourselves an inch or two.
I give a shout out to one of my classmates. When I was high school, 2004, graduated, we had a kid in our class. His name was LL Cunningham. LL, if you're out there, what's up, man? He was like 5'4", 5'5", played nose guard on Sobel's defense as the right nose guard. And that sucker, even though he was only 5'5", he was unblockable because he was so fast. He was so quick, and he played him right at the nose. So, hey, man, you got to worry about, you know.
Yeah, but
they'll still let you ride roller coaster rides.
Oh, yeah. But mine will probably be wrestling.
Okay. All right.
But something I have on him, you know, I do have some hair.
Oh,
I have some hair. You know?
Okay. All right.
In 20 years, when we're still coaching together, I'm going to ask him about that hair.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yours will be gone fully by then. But so back to you. What's
It's basketball. I've coached high school basketball for 16 years during my coaching time. So I love basketball. Coach Davis, of course, big basketball guy, and him and I've talked a lot of basketball. It's a lot like wrestling as far as you're on top of it.
Yeah.
And it changes quickly.
Yeah.
And it is believe it or not, football is my number one sport. Always will be. I just think it's the best sport alive. But I love basketball for the simple fact of you got to be able to play offense and defense, and you don't get to pick and choose.
Yeah.
You got to get it.
Yeah.
And you got to hear it too, because everybody's right on top of you, and your brain, you mentally have to be thinking both sides of the ball, where in football we at least do have the joy of just being able to think about one side.
One side, that's right, yeah.
Unless you're the head man. Now, the head man, he's in a different situation.
Maybe I'll call Mike Boykin and see if he can give you the opportunity to get out there and help him.
He better be wanting to play man-to-man defense the old way then.
Yeah. Old school.
Yeah.
Which that actually kind of leads me into an interesting question here. I didn't even have this written down, but you brought it up. There are a lot of kids these days, and I know the times have changed,
yes,
not just when you were in school, but even with me, and then maybe even now with you. But kids are starting to just pick one sport. When I was in high school, if you were an athlete, you played everything.
And so,
as somebody who loves basketball and somebody who loves football, I would assume you're totally fine with having your kids play both sports and be out there and work out and do all those sort of things.
No doubt. Our young men need to be playing as much as they can play. That is by far, hands down, very true. I'd love to get wrestling back around here. It's been some years, but where I come from, you got a choice. I mean, not that it's what do you want to call it, mandatory, but we put it pretty hard on. You're going to play basketball or you're going to wrestle.
Yeah.
And in the spring, you're going to be, if you ain't a baseball guy, then you're going to be in track.
Yeah.
And you're going to be.
So I can't go play golf?
Well,
that doesn't count.
Unfortunately, I've not had too many football boys that were really good golf players. I'm not saying
or
that
probably
there's
vice
not,
versa, man.
Yeah,
Unless
I'm
you're
not
looking at
saying
Tony
they're not,
Romo or something.
but for the most part. But no, yes, I'm definitely a true believer in multi-sports.
That's cool. So lastly, for both of you, before we wrap things up, and Coach Elliot, you've talked to me about this, but I just wanted to get you to elaborate on it, and Coach Pope too. What does it mean to be a dark horse now that you both are one?
A lot of pride. This community takes a lot of pride in football, and that was the case when I visited the first time in June. Us as a coaching staff, me, have kind of let the community down a little bit with our performance. We don't take that lightly. I know I don't take that lightly. And, what the hope is to have it back where everybody wants to be shut down at 7 o'clock on Friday nights, and they want to be over there in Dark Horse Stadium and seeing the fireworks and knowing what's getting ready to go down.
Yeah.
And when you walk in places, they can walk with their chest out a little bit higher. Because a lot of people come to Clinton work and then go back to the area that they live in. And, we want our people walking around proud of what the product we're putting on the field, but also the product that we're putting off the field.
Yeah.
And what these young men do in their community and what they do when nobody's looking.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but and I'm not saying that pride because I know some people say that's the devil's tongue, but I mean it in a positive way.
You're just proud to be a dark horse.
I mean, it means something. I mean, it means something to my daughter. I mean, we've not been here that long, but she sees that horse, boy, she perks up. Let's go. And she's bought in hook, line, and sinker. So the Clinton treble hook definitely has gotten both of us.
Well, I guess you could answer this lastly before we roll. For somebody who's been a Lakewood guy, you've been a Leopard all your life as far as I know. Now you're over here at Clinton. What does it mean to you to be a dark horse now that you are one?
Like I touched on a little while earlier at the start, just growing up in the area, you always hear of dark horse football, hearing about all of, the alumni that's come through here. And I grew up working out in Jarris McPhail's gyms whenever he owned one in Roseboro, and the last couple of years coming to Gridiron here in Clinton, So, being around him and just seeing the people that have came through, walked the halls at Clinton, put on those pads and helmet, touch that field. I understand the tradition and legacy that's left behind and the expectation, I guess you could say. But to me, it means a lot. I've come here The community has been open arms, welcoming. They've all been great people. The kids, I enjoy, whenever 3 o'clock hits every day and I get to come and be around them, that's the highlight of my day.
Yeah.
I enjoy being a positive influence on them, and I feel like they're a positive influence on me.
Well said.
Yeah.
That's well said.
I try to preach to the JVs heavily because I'm heavily involved with them, but really all of them. The goal isn't, to be the best football player you can be. That's secondary, but my goal is that whenever you leave Clinton High School and you graduate and you're no longer playing for the Dark Horses, that whenever you leave, we put great husbands, great fathers, and great people back into society. And the kids and the community, I feel, is on that same page.
Yeah.
The energy's there, the passion's there. And I'm happy to be here.
Well, again, folks, each and every week you can catch the Johnny Boykin Coaches Show right here live from Pizza Inn at 7 o'clock. And tonight's show, again, is brought to you by Pizza Inn and Robbo Agri-Finance. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming out tonight. You had some big shoes to fill.
Yes, sir.
And not just saying that because he probably wears a 13 or 14. But we appreciate what you're doing here at Clinton. We know things are going to be going in the right direction. Folks, if you got a chance, go out and check out the horses. They play again at Red Springs this Friday night. And they got plenty of games left in the season. So football season, it seems like it takes forever to get here. And then when it gets here, it's gone just like that. So there's not many games left, folks. But if you get a chance, go out to Dark Horse Stadium and watch a game. For Travis Elliott and Brandon Pope to my left, I'm Jonathan Griffin, and this has been the Coach Johnny Boykin Show. See you next week.
Thank you.